What do well-meaning people do that isn't as helpful as they think? Constantly ask how the job search is going and offer worthless opportunities like my cousin's company in an unrelated field was looking for an intern 7 months ago, you should call them. I read an article about how they need more nurses in Florida. Okay, but I said I'm looking for a part-time job while I'm in business school in Texas. Giving out bad medical advice to the seriously ill on Facebook. Yes, I am sure you mean well, but your article on Merkel about how cancer is caused by the high pH, too much meat, not enough yoga, black helicopters, and prayer in the wrong octave is little more your brain trying to convince yourself that bad things won't happen to you. My professor ran 5 miles a day and died of leukemia. Crap can always happen. Giving me directions to a place I've never been. Just give me the address so I can look it up. You're wasting my time. I know a couple people that will interrupt me when I pull out my phone to type it into Google. No, it's simple. Just get on the 95, then take 15 north to Craig Road. Make a left and then right on Losi. Take that up to Centennial and make a left. Pass the Smiths and make that right. I forget the name of the street, but it's right after the Smiths. Make a left, then your third right. I'm the house with the door. I hate when I'm giving someone a ride and they won't give me the address and insist on giving directions. I get really panicky if I don't put my turn signal on a bit before I get to the stop sign red light. Then the person giving me direction will tell me to take a turn as I'm stopping. Just give me the address. My phone has a much smaller margin of error than you do. When someone asks you if you want something, and you say no, and they continue to ask you again and again variations of the same question. For example, do you want a drink? No, thank you. Some lemonade? No, I'm okay. Thank you. Do you want some juice? I'm honestly fine. Thank you. Awkwardness intensified as this goes on and on. Give advice without it being asked for, especially when you've already tried what they're suggesting and just got done telling them so. When people discover I have trouble sleeping and they tell me their magical solutions, you should try to rest on your back, close your eyes and think about nothing. Thank you, you dumb person. In my 24 years of existence I never thought of closing my eyes. Ask if I'm seeing anyone, and when I say no, they make suggestions, like have you tried online dating? What if I just like being single? I have bad adult acne, scarring, redness, pustules, etc. A lot of people comment on my skin, usually well intentioned. Oh honey, I know this cream will work for you, try to drink more water. It's just ended up making me extremely socially anxious and sad. Feeding ducks bread. It causes a ton of problems, so next time you see grandma chucking bread into the pond, tell her to make French toast instead. People who disregard traffic laws when they are trying to be nice and let someone go, holds up traffic, causes issues for the person on the receiving end of this gesture, especially when they're trying to cross traffic and can't see if it's safe to do so. Seriously, if you have right of way, take it. When someone has some type of disability or perceived disability and well-meaning people try to help them to the point of it being patronizing. Here, I got you this cream book superfood supplement to help with your problem. No thanks Karen, I'm actually not trying to get pregnant despite my age as you say, and your miracle supplement was just recalled for heavy metal contamination. After losing a child, pick one. Everything happens for a reason. The Lord works in mysterious ways. You can have another one. You can have another one. WTF. People on the streets that see a mother with a baby and just have to say something. You are carrying the baby in a sling? It doesn't hurt their legs telling how you should dress the baby. Isn't she cold? The worst was an old lady in the bus. She started by saying my daughter was pretty and looked smart. Asks me how old she is. I say. Asks if she already speaks. I tell her no, she's too young. Then she says that if she doesn't speak I should take her to the doctor because she was probably retarded. I'm just looking at her incredulous and totally speechless. Seriously, people on the streets think that they are well-meaning but make new parents' life heck. OMG, that lady was rude and ignorant as heck. When I'm standing beside a multi-lane road waiting for traffic to clear somewhat so I can cross, and someone in the nearest lane stops and gestures for me to begin when there's still traffic whizzing by in every other lane, Well, this was more of a one-time thing that happened to me, but I get the feeling other people have been in this situation. I was at a restaurant with my family and I went to the restroom, and while I was in there I got distracted by Reddit and spent a solid like 10 minutes just in the stall. So once I get out of the stall, this employee is staring right at me and I'm a little creeped out, but I'm not about to call her out on it. As I'm washing my hands, she all of a sudden starts on this spiel about how girls like me shouldn't make themselves throw up in the bathroom in order to get skinny. Now, I certainly wasn't making any noises that could have been mistaken for throwing up, and I was a completely normal weight. Although I was still too awkward to say anything back then, so I made an escape by doing a weird fast moonwalk away. So I know that she was worried about me, but also why would she place anyone on the spot like that? People who say don't complain. Some people are worse off. Yes, I know my problem isn't the worst thing in the world to ever happen, but by that logic, only the person who has it the absolute worst can ever complain about anything. It's annoying. So I can't feel sad when my cat dies because at least it wasn't a person. Then Karen can't feel sad when she loses a person, because it could be worse. She could have lost two. Just stop telling people they can't be upset or sad because it could be worse. Honestly, people don't know how to handle grief. We just lost my dad. People are well-meaning, but I'd rather you just not say anything and leave me alone than try to say something you think sounds nice. No, my dad isn't in a better place. He's supposed to be home with us getting the turkey for Thanksgiving. He died very suddenly. I just wish people would take a minute to consider what they're actually saying. Drivers who see the blue flashing lights or hear the siren of an emergency vehicle and immediately stop. You're supposed to clear a route if safe to do so, not just stop. So often in London I see people actually obstruct the path of an ambulance because they've stopped and blocked the people behind them, or even the ambulance itself, from being able to move. I think here in NZ the law is that you have to pull over for flashing lights behind you. Not holding a person accountable for their actions because they have mental illness. And I'm not talking about crimes committed during a psychotic episode, but about all the things that happen in between psychosis. My brother-in-law is schizophrenic and I'm fairly certain that he will kill my mother-in-law and/or father-in-law someday. He lies, steals, and is highly manipulative. And he is the least likely to do these things during a psychotic episode. Basically, when he's delusional he doesn't have the facilities to be a manipulative thief. Same goes for being violent, as his violence is much worse when he's mentally stable because he uses violence to get what he wants. But it's like he has a get out of jail free card, aka the 72-hour psychiatric hold, because of his illness. He treats his loved ones horribly, but the behavior is always excused, even by professional care providers and the criminal justice system. In reality, they have created a monster who erupts when somebody tells him no. He is a danger to society, but he won't be held accountable until he does something truly awful. Definitely, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 20. I'm 46 now. I have encountered a lot of people who think their mental illnesses give them the right to treat people like crap, and their families buy into such bulls. This goes for people in pain, too. I also have RA and fibromyalgia. Nothing gives you the right to be in butthole. I think an obvious one, and one that affects me personally almost daily, is pressuring me to eat and/or drink alcohol after I say no. Friends, but especially family, love doing this. I used to be morbidly obese and my immediate family are all alcoholics, so I have to be very careful with what I consume for fear of getting fat again and/or becoming an alcoholic. I get called boring for not drinking, or they act offended if I don't eat their food, or order something healthy instead. I think the intent is that I will be happy if they convince me to let loose. They don't understand my struggle and what it took for me to get here. It's freaking frustrating. Try to pet my dog without asking, or pet him even when I've asked them not to. I adopted a rescue who had been abused by his former owners, and he is terrified of strangers. We're working on it, and he's improving really fast. But until he gets there, he is not going to appreciate some random 6-foot-tall dude walking up and patting him on the head. So for everyone, please do not assume all dogs want you to pet them. Many do, but not all. Ask first. I have two girls age 4 and 1. My oldest gets excited anytime we see a puppy or a dog being walked on the street. What I usually do is look around to see if anyone is walking their dog and tell her ahead of time that she has to approach the person slowly and ask if she can pet their dog or puppy. And if the answer is no, do not be too sad cause there are other chances. People who hold doors open for you when you are a long way from the door and implicitly put pressure on you to hurry up. I stopped doing that. If you're not a split second behind me, no door holdy for you. At a yield or a four-way stop, they don't go when it's their turn. They just sit there and wait, not realizing everyone is waiting for them. Minimize problems. Hey, it could always be worse. Depressed me. Yeah, and as life has shown me, we'll get there soon. Don't worry. Also, thanks mom. Now on top of feeling crappy, I also feel guilty about feeling crappy. We built a new home in a new subdivision. The lot next to us is owned by a developer, but empty. My other neighbor is a retired fella with too much time and money. The empty lot was overgrown with weeds and alfalfa, so we decided to ask the developer to get it mowed. My wonderfully nice old man neighbor thought he would go ahead and use his tractor to mow it while I was at work, because he's bored and, well, a nice guy. So he went ahead and mowed it, except that since he didn't let us know about it first, he also mowed over the 24 forsythia bushes we planted last fall. So this is an example of a well-meaning person being not helpful. Give unsolicited advice on dealing with cancer. When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, we got numerous advice on how to beat cancer. Advices ranges from eating a specific plant from a special Asian rainforest to praying day and night with special prayers. Most of these folks have these anti-Western medication mentality too. Frick off, man. If eating some special monkey liver during a full moon can actually cure cancer, rich people won't die from cancer anymore. When someone dies and they say things like, it's all part of God's plan. So, God made my dad suffer through cancer for 15 years on purpose? Great. Nice God you have there. When I was a child, I'd often get in trouble at school. I'd ask my mother for advice and the standard response was usually I wouldn't have put myself in that position to begin with, thanks mum. Very helpful. When I have anxiety about something and people say don't worry, it's not a big deal, I get that whatever I'm freaking out about isn't a big deal rationally. But the thing about an anxiety disorder is that I'm still going to have anxiety whether it's a big deal to them or not. As a person of color, get offended for me. I do not need you to fight my battles for me like I am an invalid. It's belittling and makes me really despise everything about you. Helpful tips to those struggling with infertility, like, teenagers get pregnant on accident all the time and I'm an adult who's been having sex for years. Do you think I'm so stupid that I don't know how to do it? Telling me to just relax. This makes it seem like it's my fault. Telling me about your girlfriend's cousin's college roommate's sister who was told she could never have a baby and then got pregnant after she gave up on fertility treatments. Saying why don't you just adopt like it's as easy as going and getting a puppy or a kitten from the pound. Our friend's mother saw the pain and stress that multiple failed attempts had led to and thought she would help by telling her daughter she was probably barren. Actually, the term she used was rotted inside, but English wasn't her first language. In any event, it went over poorly. Friend has a kid now, so I guess she wasn't rotted. Saying it'll get better. No, Susan. My terminal illness will not get better and I've come to terms with that, but I don't know how to say that without being awkward. Sometimes things just suck and won't get better. Trying to fix my mental illness. Whenever I tell someone I'm having a bad mental health day, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, what have you eaten today? Did you get enough sleep? Maybe go take a walk. I can tell they mean well and just want me to feel better, but no. All I'm looking for is someone to listen to me, say they're here for me and keep me company. Also the canned hallmark phrases like it gets better, I know it gets better. Susan, I'm just trying to keep you informed so you don't worry when I self-isolate for the next 2 weeks. Keep on offering anything after you have politely declined it. Do you want some apple? No thank you. You should really try this apple, it's great. No, really, thank you. I just don't want some. Don't you like apple? Here, just a piece, have some of this. Oh, for frick's sake, see, I said no. Frick off with your fricking apple. If I wanted it I would have said yes the first fricking time. Take your stupid fruit and shove it up your arrogant ass. Selfish. C. Listen to someone when they say no. Frick off. Geez, no need to be so rude. You could have just said no. Here's one for controversy. Champagne activists. Essentially people who take it upon themselves to stand up for issues that they have no experience with. More often than not, they end up making a fuss of it, or end up doing more harm than good. I understand you want to use your position of power, wealth, privilege to do good, or help those less fortunate than yourself, but it's important that you actually understand what it is you're doing, and that it's not about making you feel better about yourself. A big example of this are voluntarism humanitarian holidays. This significantly undermines transformative processes in developing countries. There are a lot of other issues too. For example, definitely in my country, but LGBTQI movements essentially are being reduced to a hashtag or a photo op for straight people to assume moral high ground. Again, doesn't do much to help the people affected by the issue. Now, before I get flamed for complaining about good intentions or not being happy when people try, it's important to consider the effect of our actions, no matter how good we might feel or how well intentioned they are. It's been said before and I'll say it again. If somebody's a self-admitted introvert, don't try to help them come out of their shell. A co-worker actually seemed genuinely hurt when I kept refusing to go out with the rest of the office, and said that they'll eventually reach the point where nobody will want to invite me anywhere. I thought, mother sucker, good. I'm tired after 11-12 hours of work every day. Last thing I want is to continue seeing people on my own free time. This one I learned in therapy. When people say they love you and want the best for you, this almost never means that they won't make you miserable, because what they think is the best for you is their idea of best. So my mother would pray with all her heart that I would go back to church and find a nice religious man that took those ideas from my mind when I'm a pagan and B was dating a woman. Her idea of what would make me happy is well-meaning, but I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Depends on the person, I'd say. If someone tells you that they want what's best for you, and has the maturity and intelligence to understand that they are fallible, and also take into account who you are and know you well, then these can be some of the best people you can have in your life. Work in a shop. When a purchase comes to like £9.76p and they give me something freaking stupid like £11.08p to help me with change, just freaking pay with a £10 note please. There's a queue 3 miles long, I haven't looked up from my till in 2 hours and my brain is fried. Also, don't pay for your goods with winning scratch cards that you haven't cashed yet. Phew. That felt good. I think I need a new job. Well, I would offer you £10.76 for something which costs £5.76 if I had a £10 note and the right change so that you could just hand me a fiver back. When people give unsolicited weight loss or diet advice, should you really eat that? Have you tried this diet? Please go away. Trying to convince someone their fuck up is still exemplary to protect their self-esteem. I know my 660 on the ChemSat subject test is crap. I know I could have and should have done better if I'd prepared earlier and better. All I need to hear right now is, well, you're capable of more than this, but there's nothing you can do about it now. You don't need this test to get into college, so your chances aren't any worse now than they were before you took the test. You can still self-study chemistry if you want to minor in it in college, which you won't have to make a decision about for another 2.5 years. This does not detract from your worth as a person. Take your L and move on. Thank you for not putting pressure on me to be perfect, but for the love of God, don't try to convince me that a 41st percentile score is good, or try to pretend that I got a bad score because I can't afford fancy prep classes, or that I'm doing better than most people, or bring up things that aren't relevant, like you're pretty and articulate. Thanks, but that's not going to get me into the school I want to go to. The problem with this sort of stuff is that somebody else could be perfectly happy with a 660. It's hard to address this without hurting someone's feelings. Let me know if I can do anything for you. Chances are, the person you're saying that to is so overwhelmed by whatever circumstances that they will not tell you what you can do for them. Instead, offer specific help. Offer to sit with them or drive them somewhere or bring a meal. Or, if you're close enough, just do it without offering first. Help in the kitchen at Christmas time. Sure, if you're asked or you offer, but repeatedly asking and then teetering around in the kitchen drunk while someone works with hot pans and pots isn't helpful. You're in the way and you'll probably fall into the open oven. People who don't understand a chronic illness disability offering suggestions, remedies, etc. It gets exhausting. Our doctors have us on the best treatment plan for us. And even if you have heard of the illness, everyone responds to different treatments. Just because you or someone you know got better off of a home remedy or from fresh air, it won't always work for others. Help someone up when they've fallen. Men are particularly bad with this. My wife was walking from the parking lot to work when the woman about 40 feet in front of her tripped on the curb and pretty much face planted. My wife ran over and helped her into a seated position on the curb and sat down next to her and was calmly talking to her, seeing if she was okay, making sure nothing was broken. When this dude come running up, practically shouting, "You okay there? Let Emmy help you up," and just starts dragging this poor woman up by the arm. My wife said the weird hollering man seemed to shake her up more than the fall. Fortunately, nothing was broken, but if it was, standing her up would just make it worse. Don't do that. Also, with elderly people, they need to sit a minute on the ground to get reoriented and calm down so when they do stand, they don't fall again. Some freaking clueless social skills coach must have gotten it into people's minds that it is necessary to stare into people's eyes and use their names 5 times every minute to get a point across. Well, in truth that is obnoxious and creepy. The only person I want to look into my eyes and call me by my name is an attractive woman. Apparently someone has mixed up the chicken with the egg in this scenario. If someone uses my name more than once per 15 minutes in a conversation where introductions with new people aren't taking place, I'm just gonna be thinking, what the frick's wrong with this person? When someone is venting trying to tell them what they should do or how they went through the same thing but worse when all the person wants is someone to listen to them. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.